So this video specifically was uploaded like a few days ago, by the time this was recording, and I guess Call of Duty responded
Call of
to
Duty just dropped a massive article today
was going on
outlining their
about,
intentions
what
on
the
how they
community was
plan on
going on
fixing
about.
Warzone. And to be completely honest with you, I still really can't believe what I just read. This was an article published by Activision, Ricochet, Treyarch, Raven Software, Beanox, and Demonware. So you know
everyone.
that if the whole gang was involved, this has got to be something serious. But is this going to be enough to turn things around? We're going to have to wait and see for ourselves. Players have been leaving Call of Duty left and right, including voices like Scump, Nadeshot, and if you missed our last video, even Aiden. So let's get into exactly what happened today and what it all means. On Friday, January 17th, Call of Duty published an official community update with all the details. And I mean everything. This article was a massive 2,800 word outline, pretty much going over everything that they plan to do in this next update. Everything from Ricochet, zombies, multiplayer, and lastly, Warzone. And this surprisingly includes them acknowledging their Ricochet anti-cheat and how it hasn't really been working. They said this: instances of cheating in Call of Duty, particularly in rank play across both multiplayer and Warzone, are frustrating and severely impact the experience for our community. Which is nice and all, but I really think they're understating how bad hackers really are in multiplayer and in Warzone. They then go on to say that they have banned 136,000 accounts, which honestly doesn't even seem like that much if this includes shadow bans as well. Which they finally did give a little bit of info regarding the shadow bans, or at least hinted at it. They said, it's important to clarify that when a user spams the report button in-game multiple times against a user, or someone uses an illegal cheat tool to spam 10,000 reports, our system does not consider more than one single report from a player versus another, despite what cheat developers are telling players when they try to sell their illegal.
Yeah, but you know, it's that thing of like, we're saying if we spam it more than once, pay attention, because this account,
software.
this player
I'm gonna be honest
is a
and be
problem.
blunt here. I believe that is cap. I've literally seen videos of cheaters online having a ×100 spam report button that actually worked and got people shadow banned. So even though Ricochet claims that this is not true, honestly, I'm gonna believe what I see and not what they're telling me. Which again, if there's anything I want you to take away from this video, it's that. This communication is great, but we need to see action. They then go on to confirm a new update to their new kernel level driver. This would be coming in Season 2, January 28th. If you're not familiar with what kernel means, in essence, it means that the anti-cheat software has admin access to your PC. The anti-cheat runs with your system as it boots up, meaning that it becomes very difficult for cheating softwares to start before you start the game. Not impossible, but much harder. Now, I don't really know what exactly they're gonna do with this anti-cheat, but we do know that they've had kernel level anti-cheat for a while now. But sadly, I'm running into 20 to 30 hackers every single day. Keep in mind, when we're playing ranked, we have a hacker counter. They also went on to say that they're gonna be releasing new tech that's able to indicate whether a player is legit or if they're actually cheating. They didn't really explain exactly what that meant, but they said this: as we get closer to Season 3, we'll dive a little deeper on these systems. However, it's important we don't provide too many details that could give cheap developers a peek behind the...
I think by Season 3 it's too late, because Season 2 is what? Coming up near March, right? Season 3, right near summer. It's too late.
curtain. When it comes to the cheating side of things and this kernel level anti-cheat, I've honestly given up hope. They've said this multiple times that Call of Duty is gonna get this crazy anti-cheat where they're not gonna allow any cheaters. But honestly, it's so bad right now. So when it comes to this, I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. These changes will be coming in Season 2 and in Season 3 when Verdansk launches, so let's see what happens. They then went on to put an entire section dedicated to server stability. Now, I can't really attest to a lot of these things, but one thing I will say is they have addressed the server crashing issue. Don't get that confused with dev errors, those are still in the game. For those that don't know, cheaters were able to crash a server whenever they die to make sure that you don't get the win.
TTV mode crashed the fucking server!
Now moving on to the next topic, which in my opinion is the most important, and I don't know what happened here. I don't know if somebody got fired or there was a change in administrator. I don't know, but there seems to be a lot of really good changes coming to Warzone. Again, before I say anything, I want to see this before anything, because they can promise us the world, but whatever actually comes to the game, that is what matters. They open by saying this: we've made the decision to prioritize focus on gameplay tuning, adding more quality of life, and addressing ongoing bugs. This means that in order to deliver meaningful improvements to our players, new content originally planned for Season 2 has been shifted to create bandwidth to address foundational issues. These improvements won't come all at once, rather, they'll be staggered across the season and with quite a few quality of life changes coming mid-season. Now, if you don't know what that means, I actually think this is a very good change. So for example, instead of them having to focus on releasing new bundles, new skins, and then releasing something like Squid Game's collaboration, they're gonna be focused on actually fixing the core of the game. Again, kind of sounds crazy, but I hope it actually comes true. I'm gonna go ahead and list a couple of these changes, and then we'll discuss what they all mean. Reload speeds across the board are gonna be increased for all weapons anywhere from 5 to 20%. On this one, I will say I'm a little bit skeptical. For things like this, I get a little bit skeptical because for 5%, what is 5% of 1 second? What is 5% of 3 seconds? Will this 5 to 20% change be enough to make the game actually feel any different? I'm gonna be honest with that one. I can't give an opinion. I'm just hoping that when we actually play it, it feels good. The next one is...
I mean, you'll notice the difference, right? You'll notice it when it happens, that 0.05 or even the 0.15 second. But
reduce penalty when sprint to fire
know.
jumping and increase jump ADS speed. This one I'm actually pleasantly surprised about. I don't know how much this is going to be. Again, when they say increase or make things faster, it all depends on how fast they make it. I love that they're finally taking away penalties for things that wasn't in the game back in Modern Warfare 2019. In Warzone 1, you could jump ADS and there was no penalty, and it actually felt pretty damn good. Then with the introduction to Warzone 2, you know how that goes. The game just went to shit. Now, the next one is they increased the weapon swap speed. For this, specifically, they said they increased the speed by 10%, effectively replicating the effect of the Quick Grip Gloves perk from Modern Warfare, which I actually love because they took away default perks with the introduction of this game, and now to see that we're finally getting them back, it feels like they shouldn't have even left to begin with. Another change that they made was to the ground loot. They stated that they removed all semi-automatic and burst weapons from ground loot, so the days of the enemy getting a Jackal and you getting a DM10 are gone. This is a great change in my opinion. Next, let's move on to audio. They said that they are going to be reducing reverb effects to improve directionality of movement audio produced by other players, and in parentheses, footsteps, ascenders, or parachutes. Now, more than anything, when it comes to audio, it seems like they never can get this right, so I'm gonna have to wait and hear this for myself because honestly, Warzone audio is just horrendous. I talked about this one earlier, but yes, default perks are back. They said that dexterity is now going to be a default perk. Not only did they make this a default perk, but they also buffed dexterity. In the notes, they said they further reduced weapon motion when jumping, sliding, and diving with the dexterity perk equipped. What this means is they're going away from the weapon sway, weapon bob, and all the penalties that Warzone 2 introduced. And now you have this as default and you don't have to equip the...
Does this mean they were using Warzone 2 server coding, whatever it is, the entire time since Warzone 3 to Rebirth Fortunes, then Vondel, and then with just recently Area 99? Were they doing that since then? Oh, dude,
perk to get this. They're also giving you Quick Grip Gloves, which as we discussed earlier, helps you swap weapons faster. And then they'll be giving you a fast reload perk via weapon adjustments. So in a nutshell, dexterity, quick grip gloves, and fast reloads are now default. I know I've mentioned a lot of these changes, but one caught my eye and I want to know what you think about this one. They made some new changes to the movement, and here's what they said. They increased both the jump speed and the successive jump height with one unmodified successive jump. Now that was a tongue twister, but honestly, I think this means that bunny hopping might be back.
Yeah,
but not as crazy as it was before, and definitely not as bad as it is right now. I think what they're trying to tell us is that they found a happy middle ground to bunny hopping. It's kind of a weird way to word it, I'm not gonna lie, but in essence, you get one extra jump as opposed to right now, it feels like you're in mud. Now, jump channeling and bunny hopping is gonna be another tool that you can use with Omni movement, which in my opinion, in turn is gonna make the skill gap even broader. On paper, this all sounds amazing, but again, in practice is what actually matters. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the most communication I feel like we've had in a long time, but I'm still skeptical. When it comes to these changes and when it comes to Call of Duty in general, we have to wait and see how the game actually feels when it comes out. They can say all these things and they can make us all happy, but at the end of the day, when it actually comes out, when the update drops, how will the game feel? They then close out the article by going over all the bugs that they fixed or they are fixing in Season 2. And that console will now be able to take off crossplay and rank play. Could we possibly see a return of console Call of Duty? If that means significantly less cheaters, I might actually have to boot up the PS5.
So does that mean now it's better to own a console for ranked play because now you don't have that integration of people supposedly cheating when you're on ranked play, right? Does that make sense? I don't know if I worded that properly, but I did a video 2 months ago, give or take, and it was a thing of like it's better to have ranked play where you could turn off crossplay So that way you're only playing against those who are in or on console only versus who are on console and PC and whatever else there may be at this point, right? Um, so that would definitely help. But is it gonna be better or for the worse? Because those who are on PC can either still play against those who are on PC and console, or just PC alone, depending on how many people turn off their crossplay and going to console.
Talking to J God about all these changes in our podcast, he made up a good analogy. He said, right now the oven is being preheated and we're gonna have to let them cook. But whether the food comes out burnt or not, we're gonna have to wait and see. And I'm gonna be honest, everybody is skeptical. Charlie Intel put out a tweet. Charlie Intel put out a tweet that really made this feel like deja vu. He grabbed past tweets from Call of Duty. One was on January 13th and the other was on January 18th that were pretty much identical to the article that was posted today. Long story short, them saying, we hear your feedback, and we're gonna make changes very soon. Specifically, he said, I will say we have been in the same place several times. Vanguard in 2022, Modern Warfare 2 in January 2023, and now Black Ops 6 in January 2025.
2 years.
And this is not just news accounts like Charlie Intel. Players aren't really buying what they're saying either. One Twitter user said, I feel like it's part of the marketing ATP. They almost predict the outrage and it's like, okay, fine. It's too early in the life cycle to ignore y'all. And we still want to sell a few more copies. So here's some half truths. Look, man, I don't know. We've been here before. It seems like a reoccurring cycle. But at the end of the day, Call of Duty is Call of Duty and they're going to do whatever it is that they want. The optimist in me wants to believe them, but the realist in me is saying, just wait and see what they do. Because at the end of the day, empty words and empty promises mean nothing without action.
So are they actually going to prove themselves worthy this time around? Like from that PR tweet right here. Right? Like if they've been saying that, if they said something in 22 to 23 to 25, right? Like how bad does it have to be before they realize that they could lose their entire player base just to cheaters alone? Is it a stunt? I don't know. Is it something worth keeping an open mind for? Sure. Do you keep on praying and hoping it does get better? You can. But is it going to get better in the likeliness of what it once was before cheaters took over? Only time will tell. We can only see and go from there. But I haven't touched COD in over a month, 2 months, right? Since near Thanksgiving, so 2 months at this point. And I see gameplays and it seems good, but then I'm like, if I hop on, what's the likelihood of me running into someone who's cheating or walling? With that mentality, you got to consider that. Do you really want to be on the game? But we'll wait and see what comes out of it and what has to been done and said. We'll just wait and see.